Well, as the world and theme park continue to evolve, it's no surprise that AI is starting to creep into real world scenarios, as for the most part, up until the last little bit here, it's mostly been online with websites, apps, and things of that nature. And we also have talked about before where Universal Studios is patenting a system to use AI to help curb bad guest behavior in the theme parks. Now, there's no word on if that system is going to go live or not, but it is something that Universal has put a patent out for. But it seems that Disney World is introducing new AI-powered self-checkout systems. And we have an article here from Blog Mickey who went through this process. So we're going to talk about what it seems like it is and why Disney may be doing this, because I don't think it's because they want to have cool guest experiences. I think it's because they want to save money. But we'll go through this and talk about it here. So hi, I'm Jared with Capture the Magic. And again, this is from Blog Mickey. It says Walt Disney World pilots AI-powered self-checkout. Walt Disney World has rolled out a new AI-powered checkout system at Disney's All-Star Sports Resort this morning. This is the first public use of an AI-powered self-checkout at Walt Disney World, and it's currently in testing for a more widespread adaptation around the resorts and theme parks. The AI-powered self-checkout runs on the Auto Canteen platform, but contains UI changes to make it feel more Disney. So it says here, utilizing vision-based AI, the self-checkout process aims to reduce waiting and increase efficiency at point-of-sale locations. The stated goal of Auto Canteen is to create transactions that are 10 seconds or less, reducing the amount of time standing in line to pay for food. Of course, other benefit of the system will be a reduction in staff. I think that is the main benefit of this if you're looking from Disney's perspective. With only one cast member required to monitor a bank of self-checkout systems, this frees up the rest of the cast members to help guests or clean the dining area. Or just not have as many cast members. I mean, let's be real. Currently, there are only 2 stations set up with a single cast member monitoring both stations. Of course, this is day 1 of testing, so there are other back office cast members and managers around to monitor the process and assist if needed. The process is dead simple when it works. The system is still in training, which means that while the team has tried to account for many guest behaviors, they haven't accounted for all of them. After you have collected your food and drink items, simply place them on the scanning table and let the system work its magic. He says, and it is magic. The Auto Canteen system uses visual 3D scanning to make a best determination of which objects are on the table. The image below represents an example of what the system is looking for. It combines a traditional color image with the 3D capture and then utilizes AI to determine which objects are on the table. So I decided to watch the process before giving it a go. The first thing to note is that during this initial test phase, only credit cards are accepted. No Magic Bands, no Disney gift cards, and no cash. In short, the system doesn't talk with Disney payment systems just yet, but that is something that the team wants to roll out in the future, and it will be critical for widespread adoption. Another thing to note is that because the system doesn't talk to Disney payment systems, discounts are not able to be applied right now. There are no annual pass or DVC discounts offered here at the moment anyway, but it's something that the team will work on should this system make it into more locations. I'll also say this is one thing I really like about Universal is when you're an annual pass holder, you get discounts on everything, including quick service. Like at the resorts and the hotels, the Starbucks in the lobbies, you get a discount on that, whereas Disney is very stingy on the discounts that you do get. That's just a side note, but that's just something that has always bugged me, because even if you're staying at a resort and you are an annual pass holder, you're only going to get food discounts essentially at some sit-down restaurants, but not even all of those. And here's some pictures of the system here. You know, I feel like in the 90s, if Disney were to do this system, where you talk about being like magic, I feel like Disney would have branded this some sort of like pixie magic, or it gave it some sort of Disney-esque name to make it seem like, oh wow, it's like magic, it works. But now we're at the point where they don't even try. They're just like, yeah, we're just using AI. This is just like your grocery store where you're just going to do it yourself essentially. Beyond that, there is clearly a learning curve with the system. Every transaction continues to teach the system beyond the initial training that it went through before. It's AI. That's what it does. Right now, there are probably more checkouts that require some amount of cast member intervention than not. That said, it seemed to be pretty close to 50-50 when we were watching, and the cast member intervention to correct an item or two was quicker than a typical transaction where the cast member would need to observe and manually enter an item or scan an item. There never did seem to be a particular item that was giving the system trouble, and it's worth noting that I never saw a transaction where the entire order was wrong. It seemed that some amount of guest modification to menu items may also play a part in success of an interaction. For example, I saw one person who wanted a second plate for the bacon that comes on a platter, and the system read it as a separate side of bacon. The cast member was able to intervene, clear the incorrect item, and the transaction was able to continue. After watching for 10 to 15 minutes, it was time to try it out myself. The system was very snappy, reading my tray in about 3 seconds, but failing to get all of the items correct. I tried the same plate twice and struggled both times. The first time it read the following item, blah, blah, blah. We're not going to go through that. The second time, we can see that the system read my tacho bowl as an avocado bowl, which was newly incorrect, but it did correctly read the side of bacon. So it's glitchy. It's not, this is why it's in testing phase, I'm sure. Because there are only 2 stations, it makes it easy for a cast member to monitor the checkout process, and my order was quickly remedied. As you can see, the system slightly changes the color of any items that were manually corrected or entered. From there, the process of checking out is as quick as any other tap to pay transaction. So, I mean, I'm not surprised to see this. The main reason that they would do this, and you're going to see this not only at Disney World, but everywhere else out there, is to save money on labor. They were saying in the article, well, those cast members can go clean. They're not going to, once, and they may do that right now, but once this system, and I'm sure once they work the kinks out, they're going to try and spread this out to all the resorts, probably eventually go into the quick service areas. These are going to become, instead of dealing, having a cast member check you out or anything like that, you're going to be dealing with AI with one person monitoring a slew of stations there. So obviously, this is eventually to save money on labor because that's just the main reason you would do this. Now, when it comes to self-checkout, I think people are used to it, especially grocery stores and things like that. But, sometimes people do want to deal with a person. And it is one of those things, too, when you're dealing with Disney World is very impersonal, but it's not a big deal. I think people are probably rather used to this type of stuff. But I think at the end of the day, the only reason they're doing this is just to save money. Now, I don't think that's going to translate to lower ticket prices or anything of that nature, but Disney can probably save a lot of money by implementing AI all around the theme parks. And they did recently have a committee that's been started to explore AI for various aspects of the company. Now, I think a lot of people looked at the movie side, and at the time it was also talking about the resorts and theme parks. I think this is one of those things that probably the first of many different things. And again, these are pretty common. I mean, there are, the Amazon stores in some cities where you basically walk in and walk out and it automatically charges you. Who knows if they end up ever doing stuff like that. But I think you're going to start seeing more of this stuff. And Universal, of course, now utilizes face recognition for park entry, which actually does work really well. They're also setting up facial recognition cameras at all the Fast Pass locations in the parks on the rides as well that they're going to start using. So, and then again, like I talked about before, they also patented a system that uses AI to help mitigate bad guest behavior on some level or be more efficient in how they deploy team members. I wouldn't be surprised if Disney does something similar. So whether you're for AI or against AI, I think you're going to start seeing this around theme parks a lot more, and especially a place like Disney and Universal. Their biggest cost is going to be labor, and this is the thing that AI is just going to do, which is it is going to replace manual labor. It's going to replace jobs and people on some level. And, I'm sure Disney's not going to come out and say this. They're going to use some flowery language, and then maybe they move people around. But I guess it does have the potential to be more efficient if it does end up working very well. And, these systems are just going to get better as time goes on. Personally, I utilize technology a lot. I'm kind of one of those people, I'm a little bit of a geek about stuff. And when I go to the grocery store, I typically use self-checkout just because I'm a personable person, but I don't necessarily, if I don't have to necessarily interact with people in a store or something like that, I kind of tend to just do it myself, as I can probably do it rather quickly or something. So to me, this isn't a big deal. I could see there being a learning curve. I could see there being issues with, people entering things more. I think it definitely opens up to potential fraud, I suppose, on some level. But I think this stuff's only going to continue to grow. And I know a lot of people probably won't be for this. I don't know how many people will be cheering this on necessarily. Most people are pretty adaptable to these things. But when you're talking about people coming from other countries, there's a learning curve there, especially when you talk about using, your magic bands. There's, payment issues can arise. So that's why they'll still have employees and cast members around to help with these things. But I think you'll probably see these. If I were to guess, they'll probably roll these out first at the resorts. They're starting just at All-Star Sports here. So they usually typically start these things very small and then work through the kinks and then slowly roll them out everywhere else. They did this when they did the mobile order system. Those started at the resorts. or select locations in the parks and eventually roll that out everywhere. Probably what they'll do here. And I could definitely see this being the case in the theme parks when it comes to quick service locations. I can see them using it for that. But for sure, the resorts, you're talking about the food areas. I think that's, going to be the first spot that they do these. And, I'm sure there's going to be more AI things around the bend as this is just becoming more mainstream. A lot of companies are really going all in on this for the reason being, again, that they can save money on labor. But like I said, I don't think that they're going to pass those savings on to the guest or customers on tickets or experiences. I think more than likely it'll just end up being where, the CEOs and the higher up executives probably make more money. But one could hope on some level, perhaps they use the money saved that they might put that toward like maintenance and Imagineering and things, but probably won't be the case. But either way, if you're going to be going to All-Star Sports, this is a system that you could implement and try. Now, there's just 2 checkouts that do this. They still have humans there. And more than likely, a lot of these places, they'll probably always have somebody with a person on hand to check people out because, you're just going to have issues with this stuff. But, we're just going to start seeing more of this stuff. So like it or not, this is more and more of this is coming around the bend for sure. But either way, that's going to be it, though, for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel as we do lots of coverage here of Universal Studios, Epic Universe, Disney World, and pop culture. And let us know in the comments, what do you think about these AI-powered self-checkouts? And do you think we're going to start seeing more AI implementation in the theme parks? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.